Hello and welcome to the Alex Spicer Show. I'm your host, Alex Spicer. Yeah, I know, you know me, right? So I want to talk to you about just some thoughts that came to mind because yesterday was Independence Day. Independence Day is like my favorite holiday, and here's why. Because I honestly think in America we can't truly appreciate the other holidays that we have, which are primarily Christian, like Thanksgiving. You know, we're supposed to be thanking God for helping us get to where we are, as Abraham Lincoln said, and also Christmas and Easter, whatever else. Those major holidays, we can't really truly appreciate them unless we really appreciate our roots, because you'll probably notice that those other holidays become very commercialized, and we forget kind of the point of them. But honestly, if we really truly remember how we got started, I think it would be quick to remember how to remain truly focused on the things that actually matter when it comes to those other holidays. But Independence Day, I love it. It's so much fun, and I got to spend some of the day reading some stories to my wife from the American Revolution, and there's so many interesting facts about it. I don't know how anyone can actually look at the historical records of the American Revolution without seeing the hand of God in all of that. I'm like not even kidding. You don't even have to be religious to see that clearly there was some form of supernatural care or watch over them. The battle after battle in which, let's say George Washington, several times where he was trapped, and it was totally certain that he would be captured, he would be killed, and the American cause completely destroyed. And then suddenly, the weather always comes in and saves them just out of nowhere, and does things that it doesn't normally do. For example, when he was stuck, I forgot which island it was. But he had to get back to the mainland, and the British Navy was out there and would just blow them to smithereens. It would just destroy them if they tried crossing the channel right there. Except a strong wind came up and started blowing the ships all everywhere, so that way they wouldn't be able to aim whatsoever. But then a fog also settled in so that they could not be seen, the American troops. You look at all of the different things that happened, and there's no way, unless your head is really that deep in the sand, there's no way you can look at that and just go, oh, that's normal, right? It was just luck. Well, luck can only happen so many times until you start to open your eyes and realize there really is a lot more here. There's a reason why George Washington attributed so much of his success, and in fact, he attributed the existence of America upon the invisible hand, or providence, which is just other words for saying God. I look at Independence Day, and I look at the American Revolution that was fought, and I realize, man, there's so much there. And if we would actually take the time to really study those things, we would not be confused. We would really know what the truth is. And when it comes to our foundation, we'll look at what allowed America to become great. What even enabled the Americans to actually strive to obtain independence. And you'll find that at the root of that there's a lot of religious motivation, and there's a lot of religious principle. And what's interesting is that the religious principles that they followed, these Judeo-Christian values, are unique in the sense that they allow the prosperity and the freedom, the liberty of everyone, despite their religious beliefs, despite their political beliefs too. That they allow them to live in peace, to prosper, to grow. They don't try to suppress anyone. And I was reading the Declaration of Independence yesterday, and I love how in the beginning it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, meaning we see these things as totally obvious, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Well, that right there, that is a purely religious concept. Because when maybe not every religion, actually I know not every religion really believes in this, but just going to the main religion of America at the time was Christianity, and it is a Christian principle to see that everyone is created by God, and so in that regard, we are all on equal ground when it comes to rights. That nothing has set one person above the other. Regardless of their money, of their possessions, nothing sets one man above the other when it comes to rights, when it comes to freedom. And that is what I find is just so fantastic, that our founding fathers can look at their situation and then hold to certain principles that they know would establish a true freedom, a freedom that would, or a sort of liberty that would be beneficial to all mankind, and that they were able to look at what was being done to them by the British government, and to say, you know what, we're not going to do that anymore because we are equal, we are the same as you. You know, we've been trying so hard to reconcile our differences and the problems. We've been trying so hard to try to say, hey, you know, please don't do this. You know, we believe that we have equal rights. We are British subjects, and we are the same as you. While Britain totally saw them as not the same as in having rights. That's why they treated them so harshly. And I love how instead of acting like we see today in most movies, where if someone feels like they're being trodden upon, they get really defiant, right? And they're just like, you know, this ain't happening anymore, and they kind of act like, honestly, it's like vengeful, and even like a little teenager who has no maturity. You know, that they're like, yeah, I'm gonna kick your trash because I ain't taking this no more. And that's not what the American Revolution was like. People they think that the American way is essentially don't mess with us. You know, or more importantly, we do whatever the heck we want. And it's not we do whatever the heck we want. The American way, the true American way, is let us alone to live in peace. Let us alone to do our thing, not whatever we want. Because a really major, a huge factor when it came to our founding fathers, who led this whole cause before they could even commit themselves to declaring independence and fighting this war, they were really concerned that the people were so selfish that they would just do whatever they wanted. That they didn't have enough what they called public virtue to stand united. And public virtue meaning selflessness, in order to give of one's time and energy and sacrifice for the good of everyone. They weren't sure if the American people had enough of that, but there were certain events that actually pushed the American people towards that, and they became more unified, more selfless, and more willing to do whatever it took. They were willing to have that bit of service and selflessness in order for the founding fathers to go, hey, you know, we can do this now, because the people really they're showing that they have enough public virtue for us to go for it. So no, the American way is not about we just do whatever the heck we want. You know, leave us alone, we'll do whatever we want. It's really, let us be, so that we can live according to these principles to be free. The American way has everything to do with principles and nothing to do with whateverism. With, you know, I do whatever I want. Has everything to do with the fact that we cannot continue to be free without having moral principles, which moral principles are founded in religious teachings and religious doctrine, religious principles. So morality and religion, as George Washington said, are indispensable supports to political freedom and to political prosperity. He said that without those we can't have it. And even John Adams said that our Constitution is wholly inadequate to a people who are not religious, who are not moral. Like we have to be religious, we have to be moral. In other words, we have to be able to abide by a certain code of conduct and live in such a way so that we can maintain our freedom. And that's what all of our freedom, that's what the entirety of our American experience relies upon. we will not continue to exist. We will not continue to have the freedom that we have. We will not be America as we should be, as we continue to be irreligious, as we continue to say, religion has no role in what we're doing, and also people can do whatever they want. Their moral behavior, their code of their conduct is irrelevant. There's so much we need to be willing to abide by in order to enjoy our freedoms. Because here's the thing: if we will continue to act without principle, to be willing to just ignore the fact that our actions, our behavior really does have an impact on the community, that our moral behavior is very significant. If we continue to live that way, that we elect officials in government who are immoral, who are not, they're not good, moral, virtuous people, and if we continue to act so ourselves, if we continue to do things like get more for doing less, in other words, to take what we have not earned, to have more subsidies, to provide for us when we can provide for ourselves, all these sort of things. When we're willing to divert from the path, from the moral behavior that leads to freedom, we will lose our freedom. Simple. Period. That's it. We will lose it. And that's why Benjamin Franklin said that as the people's manners become more vicious and corrupt, the more need we will have for masters. Masters meaning we will have a greater need for people who are strong political leaders, right? Who are willing to seize all that power in government and force good things upon the people, right? To force people to start acting properly. But the problem is when you have to bring people into government who are going to act that way, to try to force people to start doing what's right. Well, that same force gets applied to those who even elected them in, and eventually you find yourself in the situation where you have no freedoms left at all, and you are subject to those masters, to those people in charge. That is why self-governance is super, super important. Self-governance comes from multiple religious aspects, and including, in fact, I find it very interesting that when the Puritans came across the Atlantic and landed in Plymouth, and the societies, they had created all these little different pilgrim settlements throughout the colonies. They established very important values that affected the community, that affected the culture of America. And one of those things was that they believed religiously that it was wrong for them not to be self-sufficient, that it was wrong for them not to do everything they could to provide for themselves. It was wrong for them not to work hard. It was wrong for them not to provide good quality products to other people. Let's say if they were a wood carver or whatever, a carpenter, then they would create furniture that was very beautiful, very elegant in design, to please, though, to provide a great value to those who want to buy it. And then and they themselves also believed in not living lavishly and living within their means, right? They were very self-sufficient. They were very self-governing, and that really had a great impact on America. And I don't want to jump off on too many tangents, but those sort of religious ideals do affect the culture, and they do affect the morality of the people. And as we will allow ourselves, as we choose to return to morality, to religion, to religious principle, you don't have to be religious. You don't have to be religious, but you should support religion because of the good that it does. It has been the lack of religion has been its disappearance that has led us to where we are today. And if you have even a smidgen of intelligence in you, it's not hard to look at what's going on today and go, man, this is not that great. This kind of sucks. We could do better. We are making a lot of serious mistakes, and we are headed down some really bad roads. And they have some very bad conclusions for all of us. So American independence is so much more than whateverism. I do whatever I want. It has everything to do with let us be free to be equal, to live equally amongst each other, to seek out our own destiny for ourselves, to do what is it within our own power to create the life for ourselves that we desire, all while respecting moral principles and laws. But that's going away. It's completely going away unless we do something about it. Independence Day to me means that we were standing for what we knew to be true. We weren't trying to take on the British, to fight them. We weren't trying to beat them up. We merely just said, this is where we stand, and we will stand here, and we will not be moved. It was not a conquest. It was not seeking to conquer. It was a war in order to establish solidarity, in order to establish independence. Not to be conquerors, not to be rulers over other people, other than to be a ruler over themselves. That's what an American independence is about to me. That's what the American Revolution is really about. It's really about standing for what's right, holding to it, and then living according to those right things. You've been listening to The Alex Spicer Show. If you pay attention on YouTube, you will have noticed that there's no video with this week's episode, and the reason for that is that we are preparing for setting up our new studio. We have a lot going on there. I got a new office and preparing the studio there, so that way the videos can be a little cleaner, a little easier to do. Also, next week Wednesday, we are interviewing the Provo mayor. I'm excited about that. You should tune in to listen to that. We are filming next week, and so it'll air the week after. So 2 weeks from now, the episode with the Provo mayor will be playing, and that's just, it's super exciting because the Provo mayor, he's run Provo, and Provo is well known, has several awards as nationally for certain things like entrepreneurship, but also he's running to replace Jason Chaffetz, who the Utah representative who quit in the middle of his term. I just think there's so much good insight he can provide with his experience as a mayor, but also what he plans to do if he gets into office at the federal level. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and live free till next time.
I am life is living the profile.